I'm here to disrupt everything the diet and food industry has told you for years. What if you could stop obsessing over food and weight, understand exactly what your body really needs to thrive, all while learning how to feel empowered, confident, and in control? Hey there, I'm Carrie Lapoli, a certified nutritionist, award-winning educator, behavioral specialist, international speaker, and mom of two amazing college-age daughters. I'm here to help you disrupt everything the diet industry has told you about your health and your body. So here's the truth. Sure, what we put in our bodies matters, and it's more than just nutrition. As a nutritionist and a behavioral expert, I'm uniquely qualified to marry both the science of what our bodies need along with how to change your relationship with food, and all while realizing your value. I want to help teach you to reach your health, wellness, and yes, even weight loss goals with powerful conversations, science-backed strategies, and real talk. I'll teach you how to break free from the cycle of dieting, deprivation, and self-sabotage and start truly living. No more temporary fixes here, just sustainable wellness for you, your family, and your future that no one is talking about. You were not put on this earth to find the right diet, so it's time to stop living like you were. Join me each and every week as I share practical advice, a fresh perspective on the power of mindset, and tips that empower you to live your purpose, all while still enjoying the foods you love. And yeah, that even includes carbs. So if you want something different, you have to do something different. Consider me your something different. Welcome to the Diet Disruptors Podcast. The holidays happen every year, y'all. Why is it that every time the holidays happen, I hear people say to me, "Oh my gosh, it's just so crazy right now. I want to take care of myself. I'm gonna just start in January." And I think we are like some of these people that I've just recently heard from, they're like in their 40s and 50s. And I just keep thinking, how many decades are you gonna say this? I remember seeing a meme once on Instagram, I think it was, and it was like, something about how adulthood is just saying next week things will get better. Next week things will get better until we die. And so thanks for joining me on this episode because we're entering into holiday season. And whenever we do, I get really passionate about reminding people that if the holidays happen every year and every year you feel crazed and every year you just feel like either you just can't keep up or it's just too hard to stick with eating healthy and taking care of myself, then this episode is going to be perfect for you because I'm going to give you very strategic and hopefully very helpful ways to be looking at this season, to be thinking about this season, and what to do during the season. So let's dig into it, shall we? All right. So yeah, the holidays happen every single year. And while we know that on some level, I think, if we just keep doing the same things and expecting different results, that's the definition of insanity, right? So what are we doing that's actually so different? Well, because the holidays happen every year and we seem to throw ourselves off, but we don't want to, why does that keep happening? Let's talk about our brain for a second. Our brain doesn't like the unfamiliar. Our brain likes feeling comfortable. And even if your lifestyle right now, be it your weight, your health, the organization of your home, your craziness at work, whatever that is, even if it feels uncomfortable, like you've got to make a change, your brain goes with what's familiar. Familiar and comfortable is actually the same. And so let's say you have been dieting for most of your life and the holidays come and you can't do your diet during the holiday, just like you can't do your diet on vacation. You can't do your diet when life gets stressful. You can't do your diet when you've got, kids all over the place and busy with them. And so if that's familiar to you, where you're on a diet and off a diet, and you're certainly not on one during holiday season because Christmas cookies and drinks and parties and big meals means you can't align and adhere to the diet, well, then we go off. And that routine becomes familiar. That routine becomes comfortable. And the idea that this time it will be different. This time in January, I'm actually going to do the thing. I am going to listen to Carrie, or I am going to go back to what worked in my 20s. I'm going to join a gym. I mean, the gyms are waiting for you in January because they know you're coming in groves or droves. Why would I say groves? They're coming in droves, and they know that by February, the gyms are going to be empty. This is human behavior. Why? Because it's what we're familiar with. It's the whole reason for self-sabotage. And when I work with my clients to understand self-sabotage, what they often say is, oh my gosh, you're right. I see that pattern now. I never knew it before. That's why I always say self-consciousness is a disease, self-awareness is health. Being self-aware of what's going on is the first step to be able to make a change. So let's talk a little bit about self-sabotage and how it relates to the holidays. And then what are we going to do this holiday season that's different so we can actually get something different? Because I do not want you going into the new year once again feeling like crap about yourself and making the decision to make a change because you hate yourself, not because you love yourself. Making the decision to actually finally take a hold of your health because your weight is more than it's ever been before, or because your blood work came back that you have, all sorts of metabolic dysfunction, or because you can't fit into your clothes anymore. All of that is making changes because of your frustration with your current state. And what I really want is for us to look at this differently and recognize that if you keep going the way you're going, then you're going to actually move towards where literally 75% of the population is insulin resistant, pre-diabetic, or diabetic, where 9 out of 10 deaths are due to a metabolic disease like heart disease, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, obesity, stroke, cancer. All of that can be attributed to cellular dysfunction, which is all caused by prolonged glycation. Glycation is blood sugar spiking. Our whole approach, our whole focus is on how do you keep your blood sugar stabilized while making sure that you're fueling your body with food that serves it more than food that serves your soul. But we need both. Food serves our body and serves our soul, and we need to have both. But we just don't understand how to do that. And we often think during the holiday season, it's fine. I'm just going to go crazy, and then I'm just not going to think about it, because dieting is thought. It requires thinking. It requires a lift. It requires a whole lot of work. And the holidays are hard enough. So I don't want to have to think about it more. I'm going to just worry about it in January. But because we keep doing this, we keep going this familiar route, our body is just continuously going in 1% of a decline due to prolonged glycemic or prolonged dysregulated glycation. And if we keep doing this every year, and then again when life gets stressful, and then again when we go on vacation, and then again when we're traveling a lot, then what are we doing? But what if we could actually learn how to live a lifestyle that doesn't have to rely on perfection, but consistency? I say it's often like a marriage. I've been married to Peter for 24 years, and it's not because we've both been perfect. It's because we show up consistently. He's not worried that one day, like, who's the Carrie he's going to get when he comes home? Is going to be that like super nice Carrie or the super angry Carrie? Which one is it? That rots away at trust and a relationship little bit by little bit by little bit. And if you keep showing up for yourself intermittently and believing this false truth that you can't show up for yourself over the holidays, then you are going in that direction of the 1% decline. It's a math equation. 2 + 2 = 4. You keep doing this, you will die of metabolic disease. It's just the way it is. You get diabetes, you're going to die 15 years earlier than you should, and and that whole quality of life is going to be absolutely awful. So this can't just be about like if your goal is a number on a scale, that's why you keep falling off in the holidays, because during a time of stress, during a time of chaos, during a time of the holidays, you're like, you know what? I didn't lose the weight I wanted to lose by now, so screw it. Or, you know what? I have that extra apple pie on my counter from Thanksgiving, and I'm not going to lose 40 pounds by tomorrow, so I'm just going to have the apple pie. As opposed to the mindset of I'm going to show up for my body like any other relationship that I'm a part of. I'm going to love on it. I'm not going to, do the things that abuse it more often than not. And the thing is, when our brain goes to what's familiar. If you've been in this pattern for years and years and years, you're not going to break out of it unless you do something radically different. And I don't mean a different diet plan. I don't mean like going from keto to fasting or Weight Watchers to Jenny Craig. That's not different. That's all the same thing. That's all deprivation. That's all restriction. That's all the same wolf in different sheep's clothing. What I'm saying is an entire shift on what you want and why you want it. And to say, I want to get through this holiday season feeling confident and not feeling like I am out of control. Because whenever that happens every year, the beginning of the year, I make these promises to myself because I hate where I am. And I want you to go through, imagine being in the holidays, knowing that you're going to a party or having a big meal and knowing exactly how to approach it, not entering into a party scene because you've saved all your calories for this big meal and then you binge eat. This is exactly what I'm talking about in the lack of trust in a relationship. So let's get really technical with this, shall we? So we often like try to just save our calories during this time. And we know we're going to eat a big meal on Thanksgiving, so we don't eat all day. Well, you're going to go on a blood sugar roller coaster with that. And remember, I talked about prolonged dysregulated glycation. That's a blood sugar roller coaster over time. And if you have been doing this for season after season in your life, I guarantee you are like 93% of every American right now that has metabolic dysfunction due to a blood sugar roller coaster. So let's just not do that this year. So here's what I want you to do. We want to eat in a way that serves our body and be able to serve our soul. How do we serve our body? Well, it's in two ways. One, you know, we think about the different types of food that's out there. And I posted this in a Facebook group recently. Somebody had said, why is it that we have this health food area in a grocery store? What is the rest of the grocery store? And very often the health food area is like the smallest, most like obscure part of the store. What is everything else? Well, most everything else is processed foods. And I want you to think about nutrients when it comes to food. Food can be poison and food can be medicine. And when we think about, yeah, I always say food is not good or bad, food is not healthy or unhealthy. And people like get mad at me when I say that, which is so funny. But I want us to just think differently about it. If food serves our body or food serves our soul, that's a totally different way, a totally different spin of looking at food. Because when I eat something bad, when I eat something unhealthy, I feel guilty. But when I eat because I'm serving my soul, I feel empowered. But I know if I serve my soul more than I serve my body, I'm going to wreak havoc on that body that I supposedly care so much about. So during the holiday season, it isn't that hard to, eat in a way that's going to serve your body. And the more that you do that, the better you're going to feel, the less cravings you're going to have, the more energy you're going to have. So where's your nutrients coming from? If it's coming from foods with a label in a box from the center of the grocery store, understand there aren't any nutrients really in there. So what are you absorbing? You're absorbing fat, sugar, you're absorbing chemicals, you're absorbing extra salt, and that's not fueling your body. That's not serving it. So while you might have a nutrition label on the back of highly processed food, it doesn't mean there's nutrition in there. So that's the first thing to be thinking about. How can I be just making sure that I'm putting cleaner, whole, unprocessed foods in my body? But then the second part The second piece that's so important is how am I working to balance my blood sugar? Because our body will balance its blood sugar in one of two ways, either through food or on its own. It's just so much less efficient to have to do it on its own. So if you're walking into your holiday season and you're so busy that you're not eating all day and then you're starving, what are you craving? What are you craving when you're really hungry, right? When you're really starving? You're craving carbs because your blood sugar is super low. And you're like, hey, your body's going, hey, our blood sugar is super low. Feed us. And we often ignore it, right? And we feel like it's like a battle. Like we've won a battle. I pushed through that feeling of hunger. Or we go and grab the chips and the bread and the things that we want right away and then we think, I have no willpower. But it's just because your body is all out of sorts. So if we're eating in a way that's serving our body, we're eating cleaner, whole, unprocessed foods as much as we can, and then we're balancing it with a protein and a fat and a carb. Because if we eat an apple, yes, that is healthier, but it's going to spike our blood sugar. And what did I say about prolonged dysregulated glycation? That is when you spike your blood sugar over and over and over again for a prolonged period of time. You will be doing that for 10 to 20 years before it ever shows up in your blood work. That's what's scary. By the time it shows up in your blood work, you are like 20 years into this problem. So there's no time but now. We cannot wait another holiday season before we start to actually focus on this. And we don't have to. I will be eating Thanksgiving dinner. I will be eating Christmas dinner. I will be having my wine. Like I don't feel deprived, but I don't deprive myself in order to have those things. So I'm eating within an hour of waking up. I often do a protein shake when I wake up because I can put lots of clean, whole, unprocessed food in my smoothie with a clean protein shake, and it's a PFC meal. Now, when I'm drinking a protein shake versus eating it, very often we can drink it very fast. The speed of which we eat our food matters in our blood sugar. So let's just eat a little slower. I eat when I'm ready, not really hungry, not starving, because by then my blood sugar is really low. And then I eat until satisfied. And I think that eating till satisfied is hard for a lot of people. But when you can recognize that I eat, if I'm not real hungry when I'm eating, then I can recognize when I'm satisfied. A lot of times we eat when we're really hungry, and then our brain and our stomach don't actually sync up at the same pace, and we overeat and then spike our blood sugar. But if we're ready to eat satisfied, eating portions that kind of get us to eating like every 3 to 4 hours, I have absolutely proven through blood glucose monitoring with my clients that we will not spike our blood sugar and we can literally keep it balanced all day long. So if you're doing that and then you go to a party and then you go to Thanksgiving dinner, you don't walk in completely depleted, craving all the things. You walk into a party not having saved quote unquote calories because calories don't matter. What did I just say? Two things: nutrient absorption and blood sugar stabilization. If I'm ready to eat satisfied, the calories will take care of itself. And then I'm ready to enjoy myself at a party. And maybe I'm going to graze a little, right? Or maybe I'm going to bring a meal. Bring some shrimp cocktail is so decadent to people, and it is just a protein. So I can have some shrimp cocktail, and then I can have some cheese and crackers and eat a little bit of that. And then I might eat, whatever I'm going to eat at dinner. And because I am eating consistently in small portions, it actually allows me to enjoy the food that I'm at the party without overindulging. Now, if you're going to go to a party with alcohol, very often we'll have the alcohol and then we just think, well, I'm just done for the day. I'm just gonna be done. Or I start again on Monday. I like my wine. What I ask is that we are just intentional before we walk into the party, before we walk into the situation, that I want you to think about two behaviors that look exactly the same. Somebody drinking a glass of wine in person one, and person two drinking a glass of wine. The difference is person one decided before she walked into the party that she was going to have a glass of wine. Person two said, I'm not drinking tonight. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to drink. I got to try and like control myself. I'm not going to have a drink. And then she ends up drinking. They're both drinking the glass of wine, but one decided beforehand to do it, and the other impulsively decided in the moment to do it. Intentionality versus impulsivity will give you everything when it comes to confidence and control. or take away confidence and control. People think I have to weigh a certain amount in order to be confident. Confidence does not come because you've met a certain goal. I know plenty of larger confident people and smaller non-confident people. But confidence comes when you know what you're doing is right. When you show up for yourself because you care about not breaking promises to yourself. Think about you and your body like any other relationship. If you had said to a person, I'm going to be at that party tonight, I promise I'll be there, I can't wait, and then you just don't show up, that's annoying. That's frustrating for the party host. But we kind of do that to ourselves all the time, right? Oh, I'm not going to drink tonight at the party. And then you're like, screw it. I'm just going to have a drink. And then one drink comes into two drinks. And it's not the two drinks, it's the impulsivity behind it. So that's why I always talk about morning time. If you are not following me on Instagram yet, so that you could be a part of my live morning times, where I am live doing morning time, sharing a declaration for you to take with you during the day, a daily declaration where you can be intentional by looking ahead at your day and deciding how you're going to show up in advance, then you need to be following me on Instagram so you can get that every single day. You can go to @Carrie_Lapoli and go follow me. You'll see my lives in my highlights, in my stories, in the reels. So go and do that. But it's the impulsivity versus that intentionality. So before you walk in that door, you're going to decide how you're going to show up. And then don't break that promise to yourself because that relationship with you and your body matters. Now, remember, I said the brain goes with what's familiar. So if you have traditionally and habitually been impulsive, your body's going to want to go and do that. And that's why self-sabotage happens. The minute your body recognizes that you are doing something different, or your brain recognizes that you are doing something different, even if it feels good, it's going to register in your brain as different. Different means uncomfortable. Uncomfortable is not where your brain wants to be, it wants familiar. And so familiar might be showing up in a way that you don't want to show up, but you have showed up most of the time in the past. And right then and there, when your brain thinks unfamiliar, uncomfortable, you automatically, unconsciously go back to what was familiar. That's the cycle of self-sabotage. And then you're frustrated with yourself and you decide to make a change. And because you are unaware of the cycle of self-sabotage, especially during this holiday season, you end up right where you don't want to be by January. And the problem is, if you are doing this year after year after year, it's not like I've asked somebody before, like, what do you do if you don't actually change the way that you're living, if you don't adopt the practices that we talk about here? And she goes, well, I guess I'll stay the same. And I'm like, but no, you won't. We never stay the same. Even water that sits still doesn't stay water sitting still. That stagnant water actually produces all sorts of toxins. Nothing will just stay. You're either going to go in a 1% progression or a 1% decline. And if you're not actively understanding how to move forward and being aware of the cycle of self-sabotage and how it shows up every year in the holiday seasons, then you aren't starting off January just a little bit worse off than you were in November. You are starting off in January significantly worse than you were in November, because every year you're on a 1% decline. Think about the stock market. If you look at the stock market every day, it goes up a little, down a little, up a little, down a little. But in 5 years, we're pretty sure the stock market should be higher than it is today. And that's all because of an overall increase in little bits and pieces over time. If you keep going the way you're going and attack the holiday season as if it's just like a throwaway and I'll just start again in January, then you are starting off at a whole new low. And it makes it harder and harder and harder to get out of. And then remember what I said about your brain? Your brain is familiar with that. Your brain is familiar with losing. Your brain is familiar with the 1% decline. And the harder and harder it is to be able to get out of that cycle of self-sabotage. We cannot just go around and around the mountain thinking when life slows down, then I'll be able to show up. No, life isn't slowing down, and you still need to show up. You brush your teeth every day, right? You brush your teeth during the holiday season? Do you get dressed during the holiday season? Then you can show up for yourself during the holiday season. So I want you to think about the food that we're putting into our body, right? But that's only one of the six spinning plates. And I'm not saying you have to dig into all six spinning plates right now, especially as you're like, Carrie, I was just about to let the holiday season go completely. And now you're making me think twice about it. And now you're telling me there's six spinning plates. What? Okay. Let me go over the six spinning plates. And I want you just to think 1%. Nutrition is the foundation. It really is, but so is movement. Movement is a longevity drug. It's amazing. If we could actually bottle up the impact of strength training and put it on the pharmaceutical shelves, it'd fly off the market and we'd be able to charge way more than Ozempic. But it's free and we don't do it. Even if you did 5 minutes of some body weight strength training while your tea was boiling, you would be in a better place today than you will be in January. Not only better, but moving in the 1% direction of progression instead of decline. So movement is another one, whether it's going for a walk after a large meal or after any meal, because you can mitigate a blood sugar spike just by going on a 10-minute walk. But walking, if that's where you are and you're not walking at all, then that's where you should start. But if you actually are honest with yourself, I'm going to be really like unapologetic about this. Walking is not exercise. Walking is necessary. 10,000 steps a day is a goal, but that is not taking the place of strength training. Movement is your second spinning plate. Number 3, hydration. I mean, let's be honest. If you can have a glass of wine, you can have a glass of water. You can have a glass of sparkling, you know, like whatever it is, like seltzer. Like you can have hydration. And I often say hydration, not water, because when we sweat, we don't sweat out water, we sweat out electrolytes. And so we have to recognize that a clean electrolyte should be a part of all of our routines. And that's easy. That's like a 1%. So we have nutrition, we have movement, we have hydration, sleep. Now, I know during the holiday season, sometimes it's harder to prioritize sleep. But if you are not getting quality sleep for at least 7 to 8 hours a night, and I know there's people that say I can do 5 and 6, I promise you can't. Most of our bodies are pretty similar. One night, just one night of dysregulated sleep impacts the body just like the insulin resistance of a type 2 diabetic. That's significant. It floors me when I think about how residents in medical school aren't sleeping and they're working like 20-hour days. It just doesn't make any sense to me if they are actually part of our health community. The people that we need to trust to be able to help us, they're not getting sleep. The research around sleep is undeniable. And if you want to lose weight, don't even think about it if you're not prioritizing your sleep. And if your sleep is dysregulated, you're automatically on a 1% decline. So how during this holiday season can you actually celebrate all that the holiday season has to offer? Think about the holiday season, joy, peace, right? I mean, to me, there's nothing more peaceful than a quiet night where I'm going to bed early and making sure I'm getting the sleep that I need. A really strong sleep routine is important. Get rid of your phone at least an hour before you go to bed. I know that feels unfamiliar and your brain's not going to feel comfortable with that, but that blue light and that overstimulation is keeping you from having quality sleep. Make sure give yourself a Christmas present this year and get blackout shades. No light pollution in your room at all. And make it about 68 degrees. You will sleep so much better. We can't afford not to be sleeping. So nutrition, movement, hydration, sleep, managing our stress. So when we are stressed out, our cortisol levels go through the roof. And our body actually does not know the difference between a stressful day at work and a bear chasing us. And if work is stressful more often than not, it's like a bear is chasing us all the time and our cortisol levels are consistently high, then our body can't come back from that. And you'll see with my clients that wear a continuous glucose monitor, with myself that when I wear a continuous glucose monitor, my cortisol levels go up. Therefore, my glucose levels go up. What did we talk about? Prolonged dysregulated glycation. Stress is a huge factor in that. So if you have high stress, I do not want you to think, oh, that's just part of what it is. Say no to some things this holiday season. Maybe you have to say no to something so that you can manage the stress. If having 20 people at your house stresses you out and you are like thinking about it and obsessing about it and whatever for weeks, don't do it. Don't do it. Managing your stress is one of the most important pieces. And when you can manage your stress better, your sleep gets better. And what's so incredible is that because nutrition is the foundation, if you're eating PFC3, protein, fat, and carb every 3 hours and focusing on nutrient dense food, it's amazing how your stress and your sleep improve. And then the last one is supplementation. Supplements fill the gaps. They are not the foundation. So if you see people, and I see this all the time, buy these magic drops, buy these magic pills, do these magic things, and you're going to lose weight and have hormonal balance and live happily ever after. They fill the gaps. They all are not necessary, and they're not just pills. So I actually have a goal of being in a sauna every day. Sauna is supplemental. Do you have a cold plunge? Don't have a cold plunge? Take a warm shower, and at the last minute, and you might only be able to start with 30 seconds, make it cold. That's going to reduce inflammation. It actually helps with stress. It helps with a variety of things within your body, and you're going to feel invigorated. Plus, you're going to sleep better that night. That's supplemental. That's not going to be your foundation, but supplements matter too. So as you walk into this holiday season, I want you to go in with a mindset that says, oh, the holidays happen every year. I can't keep acting like I'm just going to wait till January, because if I look at the pattern of behavior, I've never really stuck with anything. So by taking on these concepts that I'm talking about, notice I didn't talk about calories in versus calories out. I didn't talk about tracking your food. I talked about simple, sustainable, and satisfying ways that you can start right now. And trust me, how you lose weight has to be how you maintain it. It has to all be around consistency over time, not perfection. Throw away the idea that in order to actually reach your goals, you have to do something all or nothing. You don't. You don't have to do that with your marriage. You don't have to do that with your parenting. You don't have to do that with your job. You don't have to do that with your money. Why do you think you have to do that with your body? You don't. So the holidays happen every year. How are you going to show up this year differently? And keep in mind, your brain's going to want you to go back to the way you always do it. Your brain wants what's familiar. Don't let that happen, because then self-sabotage rears its empty head. You end up feeling worse later and you don't know why. I'm giving you the why right now. So let's get in front of it, become more self-aware instead of self-conscious, and do something different so you can get something different. But recognizing as soon as you do the different, the brain's going to fight you. Get on your armor and fight back. Happy holidays. Can't wait to hear how you are taking this lesson. Make sure you go ahead and put a review in our podcast so I can hear from you about what you're taking away and what you're loving about the podcast. Remember, wherever you are in your journey, there is a place for you. 1% progress each day is all it takes to be able to build a trusting relationship with your body. Trust comes with positive interactions consistently over time. Don't give yourself the permission to walk away from yourself when you know you deserve so much more. Till next time.